We will now have the presentation of the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave.
We will now have our invocation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, And good morning, men of Morehouse. I ask that you assume the posture of prayer. Heavenly Father, we recognize that there is nobody like you. We thank you for the gift of your grace, although we are unworthy of receiving it. We pray that as we are here today, that you would instill a new fire to serve you with our actions and with our lives. Despite our own desires, we pray your will be done over our own. To you be the dominion, the power, and the glory. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Good morning. It is my honor as well as my pleasure to bring to the podium now the 11th president of Morehouse College, Dr. John Sylvanus Wilson, Jr., class of 1979, who will give us the occasion. Dr. Wilson.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome you to a most extraordinary event as Morehouse College pays tribute to the men and women who fortify our nation through their dedicated service to the U.S. Armed Forces. Now, this program has been student-driven by the Morehouse College ROTC Joint Service Group. Members of the 4 ROTC programs at the college: Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force. They have invited senior African-American military leaders here to join in a panel discussion of the topic of the U.S. military's role in dealing with international challenges and events facing the United States. Of particular interest to the men of Morehouse will be how these leaders have demonstrated their integrity, character, leadership, discipline, and community service, how all of those attributes has helped to advance them to the highest levels in their professions. Now, this is an extraordinary event. Rarely have 4 African-American generals and admirals been in one college on a stage at the same time, and as far as we know, it has never occurred at an HBCU, and it is right that it would occur at Morehouse College. But first, a bit of history. The first ROTC program at Morehouse College was established in 1980 in conjunction with Georgia Tech. That program had just 3 students. In 1992, in large measure through the efforts of Navy Lieutenant Commander Frederick Espy, class of 1965 at Morehouse College. And Lieutenant Espy, please stand. He is a hero, and it was his work that created the expansion of our program, and that is when ROTC became a standalone program and annually graduates students who go on to serve the nation with distinction. And he happens also to be my brother-in-law, all right? So I appreciate him for his sister. Amen. And you know what? I think it's obvious that we also have Morehouse ROTC alumni in the chapel today, and I'd like all Morehouse ROTC alumni to please stand and be recognized at this point. Please stand. Let's give them a big hand. They served our nation. We thank you. And now, after the introductions of our guests, I will moderate a panel focused on the U.S. military role in world affairs. I will be asking a number of questions, And I should say now that at a certain point, we're going to turn to the audience for questions, and I know there'll be some way to collect them. So as you listen, just get in mind some questions you might want to hear answers to from our distinguished panel. And now it is my pleasure to introduce 4 outstanding students seated here, the Morehouse College Joint Service Group, and they will come up here one by one and introduce our panelists, and that will be followed by the discussion. So now I invite Marine Corps Midshipman Matthew Dudonay, Navy Midshipman Asante McCullough, Army Cadet Mark Ellison, and Air Force Cadet Jordan Rogers. Please come up.
Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Lieutenant General Vincent Stewart became the 20th Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency and the Commander, Joint Function Component Command for Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Agency on 23 January 2015. He formerly served as the Commander of Marine Forces Cyber. Lieutenant General Stewart received his baccalaureate degree from Western Illinois University in Macomb, Illinois, where he majored in history and graduated in 1981. He also earned his master's degree in national security and strategic studies from the Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island in 1995. Also, he earned his master's in national resource strategy from the Industrial College of Armed Forces from the National Defense University in Washington, D.C. in 2002. His most recent principal staff assignments include Senior Intelligence Planner, Office under the Secretary of Defense for Intelligence in 2002 to 2005, Assistant Chief of Staff for Intelligence, Marine Corps Forces Command in Norfolk, Virginia, 2005 to 2006, Assistant Chief of Staff for Intelligence, 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, 2008 to 2009, and Director of Intelligence for the National Headquarters of the Marine Corps in Washington, D.C., 2009 to 2013. Lieutenant General Stewart's military decorations include the Defense Superior Service Medal, the Legion of Merit with 1 gold star, the Bronze Star, the Meritorious Service Medal with 1 gold star, the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal with 2 gold stars, the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, the Combat Action Ribbon, and the National Intelligence Distinguished Service Medal, and various unit awards. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General Vincent Stewart.
Good morning. I'm going to try it again. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. I hope all is well. My name is Midshipman 2nd Class Asante Kayin McCullough, and as the chairman of the Joint Service Committee, we'd like to welcome you to the first ever Joint Service Military Day Crown Forum. Thank you. Most importantly, we'd like to thank you, because without you, this dream would have never become a reality. Today, I have the honor of introducing an outstanding leader in both experience and professionalism. Rear Admiral Upper Half Sinclair Harris is a 2-star Navy admiral. He is a native of Washington, D.C. He received a Bachelor of Science degree in economics from James Madison University in 1981. In 1989, he earned a Master of Science degree in operations analysis from the Naval Postgraduate School. He also earned a Master of Arts degree in Defense and Strategic Studies from the University of Madras, India's Defense Services Staff College in Tamil Nadu, India. He has commanded naval vessels, the most significant being the USS Comstock during Operation Enduring Freedom and Amphibious Squadron 4 Iwo Jima Strike Group, providing humanitarian assistance and disaster relief during Hurricanes Katrina and Rita in 2005. Rear Admiral Sinclair Harris' most previous assignment was as commander of the United States Naval Forces Southern Command and the United States Fourth Fleet, which placed him in command of military affairs in Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. He now serves as the Vice Director for Operations on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Rear Admiral Sinclair Harris is decorated with the Distinguished Service Medal Legion of Merit, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, and various other unit and campaign awards. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral Sinclair Harris.
Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, distinguished guests. My name is Mark Gregory Ellison. I'm a junior international studies major with a minor in Chinese at Morehouse College and a cadet in the Army ROTC program at Georgia State University. I am the executive director of the Joint Service Committee. As a member of the National Society of Pershing Rifles and a proud member of the Corps of Engineers, I am honored to introduce to you a very influential as well as powerful leader in both military proficiency and professionalism. Major General Smith received his commission from Georgia Southern University in 1983 as a field artillery officer. In 1985, he was selected as a distinguished military graduate of Georgia Southern University and was branched as a chemical officer. He holds a Master of Science degree in administration from Central Michigan University and a Master of Science degree in National Security Strategy from National Defense University. His military education includes the Chemical Officer Basic and Advanced courses, Airborne School, Jump Master School, Command and General Staff College, and the National War College. His previous assignment was the 4th Commander of the United States Army 20th Support Command. He now serves as the Commanding General of the United States Army Maneuver Support Center of Excellence, Fort Leonard Wood. His awards and decorations include the Defense Superior Service Medal, the Bronze Star Medal, Legion of Merit, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Army Meritorious Service Medal, Army Commendation Medal, Senior Parachutist Badge, and both the Joint and Army Staff Identification Badges. Without further ado, I introduce Major General Leslie Smith.
Good morning, all. My name is Cadet Jordan Rogers, and today I have the honor of introducing Major General Stacey Harris. Major General Stacey D. Harris is commander of the 22nd Air Force Reserve Command at Dobbins Air Reserve Base in Marietta, Georgia. As a commander, she oversees 15,000 reservists, 107 aircraft with various missions to include aerial spraying, weather reconnaissance, fire suppression, flying testing, flying training, and basic military training across 30 locations nationwide. Her career began with her commission into the Air Force through the University of South California's Air Force ROTC program, where her love of flying began. She served on active duty until 1990, when she began flying for United Airlines, and the following year made the transition to the Air Force Reserves. Throughout her career, she has commanded an airlift squadron, an expeditionary operations group, and an air refueling wing. She has also served as a mobility force planner and key staff member for the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Air Force, as well as the Air Force Reserve Assistant to the commanders of the U.S. Africa Command, the 18th Air Force, and the Air Mobility Command. As a citizen airman, she has broken down many barriers and served as a trailblazer both in and out of uniform. We are graced today by an outstanding member of our armed services. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Major General Stacey D. Harris.
You know, you listen to those introductions and you realize how special it is to have this gathering. These are extraordinarily accomplished people, and I think we need to give them another hand for their achievements. You know, I usually come into this chapel, and since I graduated in 1979, I have felt safe and secure because it's King Chapel. But I feel extra safe and secure this morning. So I want to ask some questions of the four of you. The first question I want to direct to General Stewart, but we'd like all of you to answer this question. At Morehouse, we expect all men of Morehouse and all Morehouse men to exemplify impeccable character, integrity, leadership, and discipline. It's our hallmark. That's what we expect. It's what we look for. And we do that because these attributes are at the foundation of being critical thinkers and scholars and servant leaders, whether you're in civilian space or military space. And so the straightforward question is, how have these attributes mattered to you? Can you share ways in which character, integrity, discipline have made a difference for you personally or professionally?
I'm first of all struck by the fact that we're here in this chapel. We're often reflect on a very simple statement that we forget sometimes Dr. King talked about, that we be judged by the content of our character, not by the color of our skin. And so, for most Marines, we talk about honor, courage, commitment. We talk about integrity, and it drives everything that we do. And the minute you lose the hallmarks of your character, you've lost it all. And so I've seen this throughout 34 years of doing this business, really competent, capable individual that had character flaws and failed. Average, maybe even marginal individual with great character who've been successful in everything that they've done. Because they've been driven by a foundation that says doing what's right is far more important than doing what's popular. Or doing what's right is far more important than your next promotion or your next opportunity. Having integrity where someone knows that your word is in fact your bond actually means something. Because when you go off and you do things like we've done in harm's way, you want to know that the person on your left or your right can be counted upon. You don't ever want to doubt the things that they say that they're committed to doing. That you have any question in your mind whether or not they'll do those things. So the characteristics that you all are taught here and preached here are foundational, and they will carry you a long way, a lot further in many cases than having great talents or great abilities. And I'm privileged now to have the opportunity to be the director of DIA. And I'm entrusted with some of the most incredible secrets that this nation has. And I would never have had this opportunity if someone had found character flaws where I could not be trusted with the greatest secrets that this nation has. And you never know. You never know when you're going to get an opportunity like that. So keep your character clean. Do those things that are preached here, and you'll be just fine in your career going forward.
Thank you.
I completely agree with my shipmate, General Stewart, in his words. I would say it's simply like this. No matter what you do in life, we all have one thing in common. More than one. It's this. We all have to get up in the morning, look ourselves in the mirror, and dare have an honest conversation, whether it be for a second, a minute, or an hour, with ourselves. And when you look yourself in the mirror, what do you see? Who do you see? What character, what moral, ethical, what characters have you shown? And have an honest conversation. Because the men and women that we are incredibly privileged to lead and serve with are looking at us. You know, we do a lot of inspections in the military, right? And usually people form up in a large group. Somebody more senior walks in front of them. I try to remember that every time I'm inspecting an individual, I'm being inspected by every one of them. And everything that I say, everything that I do, where I am, how I act. I try to remember that I'm in the professional arms. Let's key on the word profession. One of my former CEOs told me a long time, I never forgot, he said, you know what professionalism is doing the right thing when nobody's doing it. It's doing the right thing at 8 o'clock in the morning or at 2200 at night, anytime in between. Doing the right thing when nobody is looking. Because that's what our country came for us to do, is to do that right thing. Even when nobody's looking, even when it's not in the president, it's not in the volunteers, it's not in the media. They trust us with the blood and treasure of the greatest country in this country. And having traveled as these gentlemen and ladies have, we can tell you for sure, this is a great country. A great country. A country that holds a critical position in the world, no matter what you read or hear or see. They always will turn and look for American leadership, whether it be combating Ebola, or going after Islamic State, or doing anything between. And you can tell that in the survey. There's a survey they've been doing for probably 30 years now. Many of you all have seen it, where they look at different organizations, and the question is, who do you trust? And how much do you trust the people of that organization? The United States military have ranked well above the average by at least 20 or 30 points from the polls that I've seen for the past 20, I think 30 years. And the trust that the American people have given to us. That to me is sacred. That to me, and I'm sure to us all, is critically important. Because if we lose that trust, there's no coming back. If we lose that trust, there's no turning around. That is our challenge. And that's why we have to be professional in professional law. And that's one reason.
Thank you. Major General Smith.
Good morning. I'm Major General Leslie C. Smith. I'm an American soldier. I'm a warrior and a member of the team. I serve the people of the United States, and I live the Army value. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave my fallen comrades. That's a soldier's creed. So how does a soldier who's been in the Army 31 years know that creed? It's because of what you're learning today. You know in my bio, I'm from Atlanta. Any Frederick Douglass people here today? None? No Atlanta people?
There's one or two.
Okay, yeah. 1 or 2, all right. But what you learn today sets the foundation for what you will become. And we spend a lot of time talking about character, competence, and commitment. And we don't want you to figure it out now. We want you to trust those professors that you have. We want you to trust your parents that are focused on doing the right thing for you. We want to trust your community that is upholding you, just like it upheld us, to do the missions that we need to do. We didn't know, well, maybe our lieutenant general did. He probably did. Nobody knows that we're going to be in the Army 31, 34, 36 years. It's about every day doing what's right. So where you are in this environment, learn those things. Take the time to ask the questions. Get a mentor. Okay? And don't be afraid to step out to do those things. So while you're here at Morehouse and while you're here learning to be the good students that you are, take the challenge to do it. And for those influencers, really important, service to the nation, whether it is in uniform or something else, should not be the last choice. It should be the first choice. Because that service is what opens so many doors for what you need to do. And in the following question, I'll tell you some reasons why that is so important. But we're very proud to serve, and I'm very proud to serve with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Major General Harris.
The first thing I'd like to say is thank you so much for hosting us here. The Air Force's core values are very simple. Integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do. And like my partners have shared before, integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's looking. Service before self. Those that know me know how how important the term, the philosophy, and the action of servant leadership means to me. And having the incredible opportunity to command again at this point in my career allowed me to reach out to the 15,000 airmen and civilian partners that we have and let them know we're not pushing down from the headquarters to you. You're pushing up what you need. We are here to serve you in all the needs that you have, because these are our airmen that are at the right where the rubber meets the road. They are launching aircraft, they're maintaining aircraft, they are flying aircraft, they are security forces, they are mission support, they are medical personnel. They are putting their lives at risk every day to protect and defend our nation. And the least that I can do is to be able to serve them and enable them to be able to perform their jobs. Excellence in all we do is simple in practice and theory. Because every day when we do launch an aircraft, there is no margin for error. We can't say, well, we'll maintain this aircraft 90% of the time, because that means 10% of the time I'm losing not only an aircraft, but I'm losing lives. And I will not ever put our airmen at risk of losing their lives. I want to, if we can we have the cadets just stand up for a moment? I'd like to see
sure.
all the cadets in the audience. If you could please stand just for a moment.
Cadets, please stand. Let's give them a big hand.
Midshipmen, too.
Midshipmen,
Yeah, exactly.
all in the military forces, stand. There we go.
I was making you all, please have a seat, all honorary airmen today, but I wanted you to stand because I'm so very proud. You, as young citizens of our nation, have answered our nation's call. And I believe there's no greater calling than that. And it's that propensity to serve, that we don't know where it is, we know that it's just right in here. And it's so encouraging to see the follow-on leaders of our military. So I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, when we planned this program, we knew that there was going to be a lot of knowledge and a lot of good advice. And so the planners of it, Dr. Marks and others, determined that we should not stop at the top of the hour. We should go an extra half an hour, and that's what we intend to do. I want you to feel the honor that it is to be here. Many of the people in this room put their lives on the line for you every day to keep us safe and to keep us secure. And therefore, we knew that we would have the kind of exchange that you would look forward to. So I want to get into questions now. First question is for Admiral Harris. I'm going to ask each of you a question and invite the audience to be thinking of questions as well. Admiral Harris, prior to your current position as Vice Director for Operations, Joint Chief of Staff, you served as Commander of U.S. Naval Forces Southern Command and the U.S. Fourth Fleet. In that role, you were a key defense strategist for all U.S. forces in the region, which included Cuba. Now that the United States and Cuba are normalizing diplomatic relations, how will our defense position in the region change?
And you want me to answer that question
in 90 seconds.
Well, I know somebody's got a cell phone camera here somewhere. Actually, it's a difficult and easy question. It's difficult because the devil will always be in the details of exactly how we move forward, what we are able to forgive, which of the violations that are well documented that we are able or not able to get past. Character matters. It goes back to you choose your friends carefully. So as we And I understand the president's initiative, and I, quite frankly, support it. What has happened in the past 50 years has not worked, has it? Mr. Castro and the Castro brothers are still there. The people in Cuba are still suffering. The economic ties between our nations could be far, far better. But the devil is in the details in terms of the relationship, what's in the law. It's got to get through Congress, a number of different things, and everybody's got a different view and opinion on it. Militarily, quite frankly, it'll be more easy. Why? Because we follow orders. I've worked with people that I never thought I'd worked with before and been challenged by people that I thought were our friends. That's how life has been over 30-some years, and I know that all of the gentlemen, lady here know exactly what I mean by that. But we follow orders. The orders of the commander-in-chief, the orders of the people. We follow the Navy regulations, Uniform Code of Military Justice. We'll do the mission that we are tasked to perform. If we cannot do it morally, ethically, get out. We will. But the devil will be, and I've said it 3 times now, in the details. Our State Department friends got a lot of work to do.
All right.
And I'll shut up before I say something that could actually be quotable on the Washington Post.
Let me, thank you. All he said was the devil is in the details. That's what I heard him say. That's what I heard him say. Okay, General Stacey Harris, before I ask you the next question, let me acknowledge 1964 Spelman graduate, Major General Marcelite Harris, a retired. General Harris, Marcelite Harris, could not be with us today, but I wanted our Spelman sister to know general officers come from Spelman as well. Let's give her a hand in her absence.
Right.
Now, General Stacey Harris, not only are you the only woman on the panel, you are also the only pilot on the panel.
Air power.
All right, air power. Please share with our students and friends some of your defining experiences as a leader of men in general and a leader of men in such a male-dominated profession as a pilot in the armed forces.
Thank you. It has been an incredible journey. And during that journey, I have always told, especially when I started flying and I was able to become an aircraft commander, and normally, of course, it was usually all guys and then myself, I would tell them every time, I will always be part of the crew, but I will never be one of the boys. And so when people always ask, well, how does it feel to be a woman? I go, in these roles, I go, it feels fantastic. And you have to define the parameters on how you operate and how you lead. And when you tell your fellow airmen, I will always be part of the team, but don't ever consider me one of the boys, they get that. And so it has actually been, it's been a brilliant journey. I have had no issues, but once again, we as women need to define those parameters, and the men follow nicely.
All right. All right. We salute you and we honor you, and I want you all to know, and I want everyone to know that just a few weeks ago we named a new police chief at Morehouse College, and her name is Valerie Dalton.
Okay.
All right.
Can I jump in on the air power thing?
Yeah.
I wear parachute wings. I consider that insurance when I fly with the Air Force.
All right. All right. All right.
Well said.
Thank you.
Sir, we like the Air Force. Come on, they get us to where we have to go. Drop us out of good planes and everything.
Thank you. General Smith.
Yes, sir.
If we are to believe the popular press and Sunday morning talking heads, wars today and in the future will not likely be fought by battalions on the ground, but with smart weapons and other electronic devices. If this holds true, what is to become of the traditional soldier, or what is becoming of the traditional soldier as we know them today? And how will these developments affect troop demands?
Okay. Knowing it's a very hard question, you say, that's a very good question. That's a very good question, sir.
All right.
So we're actually doing a lot of discussions about this in the Army. Because first thing is, we've never, ever predicted what our next mission was going to be. Before September 11th, September 10th, we didn't think that 3 to 4 aircraft would destroy many of our national landmarks. Before the bombing of Pearl Harbor, we never thought that the Japanese would be so bold to come and bomb us in Hawaii. So although the pundits may say that you can use a smart bomb, you could use some other cyber attack or something else, you can never compel people to change their will without what we call boots on the ground. And what that means is not just operations, as we heard our good Rear Admiral say. Think about the fact of the Army and the joint services taking people to deal with the Ebola crisis. If the military did not stand up along with USAID and Department of State and others, that could have been a pandemic around the world. But the president and others said this is the right thing to do. And you can't use a smart bomb for that. You can't use a smartphone for that. So contrary to what folks are saying, I think the use of ground forces, which are primarily Army and Marine, will always be in demand because of the arc of instability. We talked about the different areas where there are dangerous people doing dangerous things. And you have to have them engaged. They have to be talked to. They have to be dealt with, as we talked about in the Cuba discussion. They have to be developed to do the things that we need to do for our national interests. So those that are in uniform on this side, that is what you will deal with. But we never know what the next operation or the next mission is. So what we tell folks all the time, you got to be able to do the basic things. The basic mission that you have to be able to execute. And then you can work from what that mission is. So, sir, in my viewpoint, there will always be a requirement for soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines to do missions on the ground to defend our nation and our way of life.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to ask General Stewart a question. Before I do, I want you to know about our procedure here. I'll ask General Stewart a question, and then I have another question for all, and then I'll take some questions from the audience. Now, I see some students leaving. We know that we usually end at 12. I said we end at 12:30, and I encourage you to stay until 12:30 and to not leave early. That's encouragement right now. I encourage you. I have some backup in the room if it becomes a problem.
We'll block the doors.
General Stewart, in both your previous assignments as Commander, Marine Forces Cyber, and your current position as the 20th Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, you commanded thousands of men and women who, by necessity, must be well-trained in all of the STEM academic disciplines: science, technology, engineering, and math. With so many of our students majoring in STEM courses, I'd like you to give us some sense of the major areas of highest demand that the STEM majors can feed into.
Let's just take warfighting, and it transcends almost everything we do. How we command and control. So we use networks to command and control, very sophisticated networks to command and control. We use very sophisticated systems to see and understand the battlefield. We use very sophisticated weapons that requires timing and precision to have the effect that we want to have on the battlefield. And we want to be able to maneuver forces on the battlefield. In every single one of those cases, we rely on technological advantage. I've told this, I've said this a number of times as I testified on the Hill. We are currently losing our technological advantage to potential adversaries. And I have the opportunity to watch nation states, watch the way that we've fought, watch the way our economy system works, and are designing systems to defeat us in that space. And the financial networks, our economic system, our military capabilities, and they do this by stealing our very best ideas. And they steal these great ideas, and so they don't have to do the same level of research and development that we do in the United States. And so that technological gap or advantage that we had for many years is shrinking. We rely on space in order to be effective in almost everything that we do as a nation. How we communicate, how we transact business, how we supply your smartphone. All of those things rely on advanced technology. And so where we can get folks who are skilled in designing networks, skilled in designing overhead capabilities, skilled in designing advanced systems, skilled in designing ways to protect our networks, will be of great value to our nation going forward. Seriously, folks, math, engineering, hard science are the secrets to our success. Our adversaries steal that because they don't have the skills and the background and the universities that we have in this state. So I would encourage those of you who have an interest in math and science, press hard, because that's where we'll have a decided advantage going forward in the next century.
Good, thank you. And now a question for all of you. And as I pose this question, I want Dean Darden and others who are to give me questions from the audience. I don't know if a procedure for that was set up before I came out here, but I'll wait for some to be handed to me. But I want to say this. We are in King Chapel, named after, obviously, Martin Luther King Jr. And I feel compelled to ask, how do we as a nation strike a balance between the need for military action and the desire for peaceful coexistence? Let me contextualize that question a little bit, because we are Morehouse, and I need to put this on the table. We appreciate you all for your service. I think it is extraordinary to get up every day and put your life on the line to make us safer and more secure. For many years, Morehouse graduated students who put their lives on the line to make the world a better place. And the chapel, the man after whom this chapel is named, lost his life in that cause. And it was a cause for peace and peaceful coexistence. So that contextualizes the question kind of in a Morehouse way. The question is, how do we as a nation strike a balance between the need for military action and the desire for peaceful coexistence? And I wonder if each of you can take just a minute or two to share a perspective on striking that balance.
Let me start, and the folks to my left will have a much better answer by the time I'm done. No one that I know of who's been to war wants war. Yeah. No one who's seen combat up close wants combat. In fact, what we would prefer to do is to have such overwhelming strength that no one would want to take us on. Because combat is horrible, horrible business. That said, part of what I get to do every day is read about other nations or other actors who are determined to change our way of life. And I can walk you around the globe, depending wherever you want to start. If you want to start in Europe, I can talk about some of the things that the Russians are doing. If you want to go into the Pacific, I can talk about things North Korea and China are doing, and everything in between. And it isn't because we want war, but if we are not prepared for war, then we ought to be prepared that our way of life will be fundamentally changed. And so none of us who've seen combat would like to take young men and women off where they can risk their lives. But there is, ladies and gentlemen, don't be deceived, there is evil in this world, and much of that evil is determined to change the way the United States and the Western world lives and enjoys the peace, prosperity, security, and democracy that we have. And without a strong military force, do not be deceived. They will, in fact, attempt to change our way of life. I'm very comfortable. I'd like to never go off to war again. I'd like to never send another soldier, sailor, airman, marine off to war. But hoping that there will be peace in the world, left to its own devices, is probably not the right answer.
Other perspectives?
I completely agree with the General. Nobody who has served in uniform that I respect is one who desires war, because it is the people that die, the people that are injured, the wounded warriors, they are our comrades. They are our friends. They are the people that we have trained and worked with and served with. Less than 1%, I believe, is the number of personnel who are uniformed in our military. A very, very small percent of the American citizenry are dedicated to this mission. There is, in my mind, zero gap between peaceful coexistence and military service, because the world abhors a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. Something is going to fill that vacuum. The Islamic State and Levant filled a vacuum. And you see the evil that has come from that. Military service is primarily focused on being that support for the whole of government to ensure the peace. If you look at the past 50, 60, some odd years, actually, the world has been more peaceful than it had been for the previous 100 years, through World War I, World War II, and all the wars that preceded that. Why is that? Is that because we just stopped fighting? Is that because evil went away? No, it's because somebody took that leadership position, because there was something to back up the diplomatic efforts, to buy time in some ways for peaceful coexistence to happen amongst people and tribes. Mr. Obama recently, I think it was yesterday, announced that we are changing the glide slope in terms of leaving Afghanistan. We're still leaving, but he changed it. Why did he do that? Consultation with General Campbell, consultation with President Ghani about what was needed to make that transition, to keep peaceful coexistence going in a country that has not seen a lot of peace over the past 500 years in Afghanistan. It's trying to do that by keeping boots on the ground, not to take territory, not to turn Afghanistan into the 51st state, but to help buy time so that this military, his civil society could form and try to buy space for that peaceful coexistence. There is no problem, there's no gap between military service and peaceful coexistence. In fact, military service is one of the primary tools to ensure peaceful coexistence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other perspectives?
Yes, sir. So let me give you a little context. Selma Bayo, I graduated from Frederick Douglass High School. So I went to school with Bernice King. And I went to school with Dexter King. And I've been in the House. I've met and had dinner with Mrs. King while she was still alive. So I understand what it means to do the missions that we're called to do. In my pocket of my utility uniform, I keep pictures of the soldiers that I lost when I was 20th Suburban Command, primarily explosive ordnance disposal soldiers. Those soldiers, along with the sailors, airmen, and Marines, defend our way of life. I'm just going to let that permeate for a little bit. So the ability for us to sit in this room today, to have the kind of dialogue that we're having, that in other countries, you couldn't do it. Those 20 soldiers that I'm telling you about, plus thousands of others, hundreds of thousands of others that are around the world defending our way of life, is why we continue to serve. And it can be coexisting, and it should be. Because I think our ability to do the missions that we're called to do, our ability to keep the peace, makes us safer today than we have been before. And so I think the peace and the military strength that's required as part of the diplomatic, economic, military, and informational aspect is required for us to do what we have to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if I could just focus the lens just a little bit differently and talk to the missions that we have in the military. Absolutely, yes, we do defend. Absolutely. But yes, we do protect, and yes, we do serve. And if you look at the humanitarian mission efforts that our military executes every single day, that soft power that goes under the radar screen, that is still saving lives. My C-130s that are flying over Iraq and dropping food and water on top of Mount Sinjar when ISIS was surrounding them and preventing them from even having any food or any sustenance to be able to live. They were basically suffocating them. We're airdropping those supplies to them. Our military members right here in our homeland that are protecting and defending during Hurricane Katrina, just the outpouring of support that our military provided to our own American citizens. My civil engineers that are on a daily basis throughout the United States in more impoverished areas, building schools, building clinics. My medical personnel that are out there in those clinics, saving lives, that soft power that's there. My hurricane hunters that take that daring mission to fly into the eye of a hurricane to detect what the probability is of devastating damage to our nation so that they can warn people and get that news out so that people can disperse and find safety. I mean, our military does so much in saving lives of our own citizens, that soft power that you don't hear much about, but know that we live by that creed every day also.
Thank you for that
is
perspective.
Really such a great
Very good.
point. I got to just pounce on that.
Yep.
You know, I can tell you stories about Marines jumping into river with all their armor to fish out, literally fish out a baby who had fallen into the creek and delivering that child back to the mother, and the joy that brought to that mother because that child was rescued, and the medical care, and running into burning buildings in villages to rescue people who would cause them harm. That side of what we do in the military is really, really not talked about a lot. So I'm really glad you brought that up. That's a significant capability we bring.
And sir, if I might, just one more thing. I think folks need to understand the majority of our forces are in the reserves and National Guard. So the smaller component is on active duty. And most of them are in your communities. And most of them go to work every day, just like our pilot, and they do other jobs. And so they're working in your schools. They're working in the fire departments. They're working like I used to be as a college student. So we have to leverage those guys too to get them to tell us their story about what they do. So for the ROTC folks here, college, how many of you in the reserve components? Raise your hand. We want to give you a round of applause, too, because you're doing 2 jobs at one while you're going to school.
You know, I got to jump on one more thing that we're missing here.
So we've taken over.
Control. You lost control. And that is that as you go around the world, one of the things I realized, and smart people realized it before I did, but wherever the role of women has increased, you've seen a more stable environment to come.
That's correct. Yeah.
Wherever you go. So with that in mind, you've seen the glass that has been shattered in terms of the role of women. Thank you, Dakowitz. Thank you, those organizations that have worked, strived to improve the role of women in our military forces, the general here being one of the examples, and the leadership that they are bringing, and the stability that comes from that. Because they're the examples, often that are never seen by any number of nations, And that is one of the truest and best examples of what it means to be an American. And that has helped ensure that stability and peace that you referenced.
I thank you for those perspectives, and actually they dovetail nicely with our purpose here at Morehouse. I said for many years, Morehouse graduated people to go out into the world and often put their lives on the line. We're still in the same business. That is, graduating men here who will go out and make the world a better place, and sometimes you have to put your life at risk to do so. I realize that some students have had to leave because they have had class, and we are going to wrap up. I have one more question I'll ask very quickly, and then we have some other program after this, some recognition and closure. I have come to Morehouse as president. I've been here for just 2 years and have recognized that we need more international students, and in particular from Africa. At Morehouse, we are particularly interested in African affairs. We understand that the U.S. established a U.S.-Africa Command in 2008 as one of its geographic commands. I'd like for one or two of you to take a question about Africa and briefly talk about our aims in Africa. Militarily, I'll mention that I was in South Africa 2 weeks ago and met with a critical mass of alums there and people interested in Morehouse, and was very surprised. I was there and bragged about the Secretary of Homeland Security of these United States being Jay Johnson, not just a Morehouse man, but my classmate at Morehouse. And they looked at me and said, yeah, we're aware of that, but did you know that the Secretary of Defense in South Africa is a Morehouse man? All right? Wow. That's a powerful, I didn't know that, all right? You're gonna know that on the front of our magazine. That's a powerful factoid. So we care a lot about Africa, and we've obviously grown some leaders for Africa, and we intend to grow more. But one or two comments about the future of U.S. military in Africa and those relations.
Okay, my two Army buddies, ground buddies are pointing at the sailor.
We didn't point at you, but you can go ahead and start, sir.
Okay. So U.S. Africa Command is a very unique command. It was set up actually not purely as a combatant. It was a combatant command, but not with combat in mind. It was more of an interagency focus. That's what General Ward's charge was when he set it up. And it served very well. It continues to be a bit of a different model compared to the other geographic commands that we have. Not so much focus on warfighting, though warfighting is what all have to be able to do, as we've seen during Odyssey Dawn in Libya, what we're seeing now in trying to counter the Islamic State that's trying to get grassroots going in the North Sahel, as what we see going on in Nigeria with Boko Haram, which has pledged allegiance to the ISIL. So warfighting is something we still have to be able to do, but the footprint is very small. It's mostly about developing and working with others. and quite frankly, the largest U.S. footprint that you've seen in Africa Command in the last, I don't know how many years, was what? The response to Ebola.
That's correct.
To be able to get out there with our doctors, our nurses, our medical technicians, our engineers, in order to provide the mobile medical units, the Ebola treatment units, to help stem that disease to a point where I think we've had one case in the last 2 weeks or month. It dropped off precipitously. So people like, and I'm going to point them out, Vice Admiral Adam Robinson, one of my longtime mentors. Sir, please stand up. Former Surgeon General of our Navy, sir. It's people like him that he trained to employ that soft power that General Harris mentioned that have been more of a focus, that and counterterrorism, in Africa Command.
Okay, let me you can really help us. By every negative trend that we measure, the countries of Africa are on the negative side of the ledger. Yeah. Education, poverty, grown youth bulge, what we call young military-age male, growing at an alarming rate, good governance, good social programs. All of those are the precursors of crisis. And as much as we want to be involved, where we can have universities that go into countries in Africa and talk about governance, not forced democracy. When you talk to the people in Africa, and I've been to a number of the countries, one of the things they really resist is that we force our model of democracy on them. And democracy is great. I've defended democracy for 34 years now. But we just need to teach them how to govern, how to provide goods and services to their people, how we can help them to educate their people, how we can increase the economic opportunities. Because if we don't, there will be conflict, there will be disasters, and we'll be on the back end of this thing rather than on the front end. So as much as you can help educate and transform the countries in Africa, you'll help save us from having to go there and get into a conflict. So I would encourage much help as possible.
Let's give them a hand, please. And we have a little more program to go. I want to call up Asante Makala to introduce our honoree.
Thank you, sir. All right. Morning again. I'm up here again in front of you guys. All right. So I have the opportunity to introduce to you yet another outstanding individual. But this one is a little bit more special as far as the relation between Morehouse here. Today I'm going to introduce to you the only Morehouse man to excel to the rank of a general officer. Lieutenant General James R. Hall graduated from... You can get claps for that. All right. Thank you. Lieutenant General James R. Hall graduated from Morehouse College in 1957. He enlisted in the United States Army, and following basic training, he attended the Infantry Officers School and was commissioned as a second lieutenant of infantry in 1958. He served in a variety of high-level staff positions during his commitment. Among his command positions, he served as the commanding officer of 1st Battalion, 9th Infantry, and 2nd Infantry Division, the 4th Regiment, United States Military Academy Corps of Cadets in West Point, New York, the 197th Infantry Brigade, and served as the Assistant Division Commander of the 4th Infantry Division. In addition, he served as the Commanding General of the United States Army Military Personnel Center, the 4th Infantry Division, the 4th United States Army. He retired from the Army in October of 1991 at the rank of Lieutenant General, 3 stars. He served as the Vice President for Campus Operations of Morehouse College from 1996 until December of 2000. He is happily married to the former Helen A. Kerr, a Spelman graduate. Yes? And they have 3 children and 2 grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage a Morehouse man and my personal mentor, Lieutenant General James Hall.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome and introduction. Mr. President, as the senior alumnus here today, I would like to thank the 4 members, the 4 flag officers that are here. This is the first time that we've had an occasion like this. For all of you that, I want you to know that they were not just sitting around wondering what to do today. They have very, very heavy schedules, and for you to take the time out of your schedules to come here and present yourself to the students here, not only of Morehouse, but this morning we had high school students and all of that. I want to just personally thank you and wish you well. We have some guests here that I would like to recognize. And I know that our alumni from the previous classes have already been recognized, but I'd like for you guys to stand up again, because when you look at our graduates that have gone off and they came back to participate here. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome and thank Dr. Blackburn, Dr. Ben Blackburn, who is a member of the class of 1961 and a member of the Board of Trustees, for being here today. And I would like to welcome again Vice Admiral Adam Robinson, Jr., who was the Surgeon General of the Navy. Now, we know our own Dr. David Hatchell was the Surgeon General of the whole United States. But each service has a Surgeon General. Admiral was the first black Surgeon General of one of the services. And to my knowledge, he's the only black Surgeon General that we have had. Sir, it's my pleasure to welcome you to Morehouse and ask that you come back anytime that you have the time to come back here. Commander Espy has already been recognized, but I'd like for you to know that Commander Espy started the ROTC program here, and this was back in 1980, and his right arm was Master Chief Hutchison. So, Master Chief, all of these people know you. They know you from way back, so wherever you are, would you just stand up and just let the other folks see you? There he is back there. Thank you. Fighting is not an easy thing, and sometimes things don't go as planned. And as the Air Force General was talking about all of the flights and everything, sometimes planes go down, because as good as we are, sometimes we get hit. And I'm happy to introduce to you one of the pilots that was shot down over North Vietnam some time ago, Colonel James Williams, United States Air Force, who was shot down, and he was a POW for over a year. But he survived, and he is back now. Colonel Williams, would you stand up so we can see you? Now, a little bit more about Colonel Williams. After he came back and he retired from the active duty. He spends his time now training the junior ROTC people, and he has done that for many years, and he is still actively training our young people to be the future generals and admirals of the future. So, sir, thank you so much for doing that. We all stand on the shoulders of those that have gone before us. And another gentleman that is here who is active in the community, and you probably never see him on the campus at Morehouse, but he comes to the campus at Morehouse at least twice a year. And he's a member of an organization that is supporting the ROTC programs both here and in the junior ROTC programs in the greater Atlanta area. Lieutenant Colonel retired Edward Lewis, United States Air Force. Ed, where are you? Right there. Ed Lewis is on the northern side of 80. He's a fighter pilot. He was a fighter pilot. He doesn't fly anymore, but he still refers to himself as a fighter pilot. He's one of my golf partners, and he can still hit the golf ball. He doesn't hit it as far, but he hits it straight. Commander Johnson, I would like to recognize, is a former PMS here at Morehouse. He was here during the 90s, and he was here when a lot of those fellows over there went through Morehouse. Commander Johnson found time to come back and be here. There he is, back there. Not only did Commander Johnson come back, he brought some people with him in case we didn't recognize him. They could call our attention to that. Last night we had a very good reception here on campus, and I would like to thank the Atlanta University Center Veterans and Military Affinity Group for financing that reception and taking part in that reception and welcoming our guests here. So thank you very much to the Affinity Group. Last but by no means least, we have an ambassador here with us who outranks all of us. Ambassador Theodore Brittenton is the former ambassador to Barbados. Ambassador, where are you? Would you stand, please? There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for allowing me to participate in this occasion, and I bid you a happy day and good luck to you as you move back to your duties. Keep us safe, and if you ever run in trouble, I'll give you my telephone number.
As we close out this historical occasion, I would like to ask all Morehouse alum military to join us on the stage as we sing our college hymn. We will ask the alums to convene this aisle right here in front of our special guests. So would you please come to the stage now as we sing our hymn.
Say again?